when we were in Japan with De La Soul promoting the first artificial intelligence bionics, that we were in with that one, All Good, with Shaka Khan, and you know, that was the record that was happening then. But it wasn't just promoting, because they go to Japan all the time. I think once a year they do Japan, or at least every 2 years. And we took all of our artists from Coolio to Bambaataa. We brought them all around the world and treated them like pop artists, even though they didn't have that big of an audience over there. And ironically enough, most of them are making most of their money overseas, not in America right now. They make more money and they make a living internationally, and you know, as opposed to in America, which is very interesting that America doesn't support its legendary artists as much as France and Germany and England and South America, and you know, and even Japan. But I guess it's true with jazz and blues artists too. You know, they make most of their money over there, and there's all the festivals over there. I think that the international market has a better memory for music. I think they covet the history of music. If you ever go to London, you'll see people in record stores looking through the records, pulling them out. They'll spend hours and hours in record stores looking at records, reading all the fine print. They know who the producers are, where they were done, what studios. They know more stuff about my records than I know about my records. It's unbelievable. And you know, it's almost a religion to them. And they covet the history of music. In America, especially in Black America, historically, music has been disposable. They eat their music and then they shit it out and they're done with it. And that's why when Motown or Philly had a revival, the revival mostly was a white revival, not a black revival, because American white, and you're seeing the same thing with hip hop. Old school hip hop, the champions of it, they were all white kids. You know, you ask most young black kids about, you know, old school hip hop, and they're not even interested, and they know very little about it. If they know a sample, they know a sample from the most recent record it was sampled from, not the original record. They don't know that it was Lynn Collins, you know, where It Takes Two came from. You know, it really came from Think by Lynn Collins. Nobody knows where the roots are. That's why at TommyBoy we tried to put out a hip-hop roots album, which is fantastic. It has all of the original songs that Bambaataa used and sampled, but it sold almost nothing. People just don't care about it, you know. All of the songs that are, you know, the core, most important sample records, people don't even know where the original ones came from. It's really bizarre to me. But there's a difference in people's belief systems, I guess, in Europe and Japan compared to, or even in Australia, compared to America. America's only thinking about today and tomorrow, and they don't, you know, they don't really relish the past. I mean, it's great that there is a place that they could work. I mean, Coolio makes all his money in Europe, and in America he makes only money on the Hollywood squares. You know, he can't really make money over here. Yeah, and I had a meeting with Ja Rule recently, and he makes so much money in Brazil and other countries, he can't hardly make any money in America. So it's interesting how different people do really well over there, but the new generation works more like rock. Cool kids are out there working like rock artists. You know, you can't really, cool kids could play on a gig with most alternative rock artists, and it wouldn't be a stretch at all. And so could Hollywood Holt, probably, or Mickey Fax, you know. So the next generation of hip-hop artists, like I said before, are gonna be able to work both ways. They'll be able to work with rock or not, and since they're touring from the beginning, they're touring before they have their hit record. They're probably gonna have much longer careers, and in America that won't happen. With De La Soul, they were an exception. De La Soul toured colleges, and they became a big college act. They were one of the few hip-hop acts at the time, them and Tribe, that did a lot of college. And because they did college, they were perceived the way a rock group was perceived. And they were still able to make a lot of money on the road, even after they stopped having big hits. It's all about touring. If hip-hop artists tour from the beginning, with or without hits, then they won't believe in it. But the problem is there's a lot of racist promoters and booking agents that don't want to tour black acts unless they have a hit first. And we have to get back beyond that, you know, because historically, black acts only got to tour when they had a big hit record, and when the hit was over, they couldn't tour at all. And to some extent, and that's true with all kinds of urban music, with, you know, R&B, ballads, everything. And that needs to stop, and the way that stops is by artists saying, we're gonna tour first before we have hits. And we're going to get known, you know. And if you go back to the old days, James Brown toured hundreds of clubs. There was a giant live club circuit in the 30s through the 60s that called the Chitlin Circuit down in the South, and he broke that way. That's why his live show was so amazing. He broke off of his live show, and then he had his hits. When artists break off their live show, they know how to do it live. When De La Soul went out first live, they went out in the Fresh Fest, and they were booed off the stage. And they went back, and they became, from going to be the worst live, they ended up becoming the best live. And same thing with Naughty by Nature. The reason why they're still out there is because they give it on stage. And there are a lot of hip-hop artists that all they do is walk back and forth holding the mic and rapping, and that's not enough of a show to sustain a career. They have to find a way to engage audiences. And when hip-hop steps up to be able to engage audiences with a really spectacular live show, those artists will transcend time.